Hi everyone, just type a Y if you can see me or see and hear me okay. Okay, excellent. People are hearing me. Now I'm having a little bit of strife here. For some weird reason, we're trying to save, to share this to Facebook, and for whatever reason, it's not letting us do it. So that's a bit sad. Anyway, just give me one more second. Let me see if I can do this or not. Okay. Give me another 20 seconds and I'll see if I can do it. If I can't do it, we'll have to live with it. Okay, looks like we're going to have to live with it. Okay, so let me just get my lovely little camera. It's a bit better. Just getting everything set up. Okay, and on that note, let's get underway. So hi everyone, and I hope you're faring well in this interesting new Orwellian type world that we're living in Australia, in the lovely convict colony land down under. And is there anyone here who's not from Australia? Like from America or New Zealand or Southeast Asia or Antarctica or underground world of Agartha that supposedly exists? Okay, a couple of New Zealanders. Okay, great. So there's a few people. Wonderful. So on that note, let's get underway. So I thought we would do a really good topic today, but I think would work very, very well. It's a bit more of an overall general consolidation of what we've done. So I'm going to continue to do these every week, just over the next little while on Wednesday, just as a follow on from our event and following on and really helping us get what I call our headspace in the right place. So as I mentioned, tonight, I'm not really giving any major advice, but I'm not a financial advisor. I'm not licensed, and there's a very good reason I prefer to be self-empowered rather than have some agency telling what I can and can't say. So in terms of housekeeping, I don't expect today to go more than 90 minutes. I think it will be a shorter one today, but you know, I say that famous last words. Okay, so this is what we'll be covering today. So what does sovereignty mean? Like, what are the 10 laws of human sovereignty? So what's happened is that I had a bit of a chat with John D. Martini the other week and came up with some, and Edward, and we've been coming up with some laws of human sovereignty, stuff that we see is really important right now for basically what we see as the foundational principles, like the 10 commandments to be a sovereign individual. We thought a really good topic. So these are the things we'll be covering. Important is mindset and spirituality, our inalienable human rights when it comes to our body, finances, right to earn income, and what are our next action steps in the journey to becoming a sovereign individual. So it's mainly going to be focused on 1 and 2, but a little bit more on that. So I'm guessing that a lot of you at the event, is there anyone here who wasn't at the 2-day event, which we had like on the weekend of the 14th and 15th of August? Okay, a few. Okay, great. Yeah. We're going to be doing some 1-day events in September, October, November, you'll be pleased to know. So we'll be doing one on each of the 3 main areas of sovereignty, which is mindset and headspace, creating your income, and basically protecting your assets or whatever else. So, okay, so let's get on with it. So this is a quick revision of what we covered in our previous little workshops that we've done over the last 5 weeks. Like, as you know, we've had the regular Friday, Wednesday night ones, and we're having our weekend ones as well. So how the legal system really worked, we looked at common law versus civil law. And this is one of the things I mentioned was about watching the Howard Freeman stuff. For some of you who may remember, we really went into the basic foundation of our law and the fact that our law was founded in Australia on the Holy Bible. And I mentioned, and I'll emphasize again, this was one of my most powerful foundations of becoming sovereign myself, because once I realized it and got it within myself, it's just been really interesting. Like, I noticed that when things happen, like sentences come out, I don't really seem to be asked about it. When various things seem to happen, life just goes on. So sovereignty it really starts as an inward kind of place for you to be in. And so this was the thing that we spoke about before, the foundations of the law from the Holy Bible, and the common law, life, liberty, property. We went into the Constitution, the separation of powers, and how we've got the mandates that come in. We spoke briefly about this particular fact, and there's very mixed commentary across Australia right now. My view is it's almost really just a superfluous legal argument. That's my honest opinion at the moment, because I think that businesses will get round it by effectively saying we want to be able to do this. I don't really see how businesses can be stopped from doing it. So if most major companies decide to do it, and airlines decide to do it, and insurance companies start insisting on it for major gym and franchise chains, I think this is unfortunately an inevitable way of the future for the next little while, which makes it very important to have inner sovereignty. And one of the greatest spiritual teachers once said that, they can take my body, but they can't take my soul. And in other words, things around you can fall apart, but who you are on the inside is what will shine out through these times and eventually will prevail if you made of the right stuff on the inside. So that's what we're going to be talking a lot about today, because sometimes when times happen that are not particularly pleasant, you hear the news that you don't really want to hear. And it's a case of learning to live with that news and things like that. And there's all kinds of beautiful, little legal arguments that are floating around. And personally, I think most of them are irrelevant. I think that a lot of damage can be done, even in the very rare, unlikely case. And someone mentioned civil conscription. Well, the High Court laws have been very all over the place with that one. And that may stop the Commonwealth from doing it, but it won't stop the states. So we went into what a state of emergency is, and the fact that it effectively means you've declared martial law. And even though there might be an arguable fraudulent basis, again, I think that it's very easy to hang your hat on very, very low, on events of a low hope of success. Right now, this is the reality of what we're dealing with, and it's learning to work within that and learning to rise up and overpower it and find your rights and things like that. So I went into mandates and legislation, and I went into an overarching human right. And I believe that there actually is. And one of my difficulties I had, and why I hesitated for so long, and this is me being fairly candid and transparent with everyone here. One of my things that I held off for so long in doing a lot of this stuff until the last few months, number one is a timing issue, but number two, I thought, how do you teach people about sovereignty where by and large people have grown up in a world where they're not sovereign, and get people to understand, but it starts in your head? Because most people will just say, oh, that's just ridiculous. We want this, we want a magic bullet, we want real answers. And I thought, I just can't be bothered arguing with that. I don't have a very high tolerance for people kind of giving me nonsense, as many of you know. And so I really hesitated for a long time for that reason. In the end, I thought, well, I'll get up and share it. And those who are willing to listen will listen. Those who are not, they won't, or, they'll just leave. And I've been amazed how many people have been willing to listen to stuff and really learn this kind of stuff. And because it really does start in the head. It starts in how you think and starts in how you perceive the world. And that's when I got that one part of my life fixed, a lot of other things around my life fixed up. I just started winning in situations in my life, whether it was business, whether it was government, whether it was relationships, whether it was anything else. So I do believe there was an overarching human right to stop this, but it's important to realize it starts within you. And one of the things that I mentioned that some of you may remember is that the overarching rights of the Magna Carta, for example, that were originally granted, they weren't given to peasants, they were given to sovereign free men and women. When you actually go back and read the Magna Carta only ever came into existence because no one gave a rat's ass when the peasants were basically being oppressed. But when the lords and the barons started getting oppressed by King John and all the rich people, they got really annoyed about it. So they all got together, went to see King John and said, you'd better stop this nonsense. And that was the Magna Carta. So the Magna Carta really is only a document that's designed to reflect the inalienable rights that exist in the free men and women of the earth. So that's what it's meant to do. So is Magna Carta a good thing to know? It's a really good thing to know. Not easy to understand, but I would encourage anyone who's got good reading abilities to at least give it a shot and read the Magna Carta. there's some really great freedoms that are written in, but are overarching common laws and human rights and things like that. So we went through the order of creation, which is God, man, woman, government, and persons. And again, this is one of my biggest things, which I can't emphasize enough, that is so important to understand in the whole idea of sovereignty headspace. So this is the thing that I'm really feeling to focus on, because I'm noticing how people right now are really struggling with what's going on, like actually really struggling. I've been seeing people who I'd regard as very mentally, very strong people, very evolved people who have literally just been breaking. People who are very conscious with their health are actually starting to say, well, maybe it's not as bad as you think it is. Maybe it really is conspiracy. Maybe we could just go along with this, and maybe it is in our best interest. I've had 2 chiropractors I know who are very conscious go and book in and take their jabs this week. And their reason was literally, it's just not going away if we don't do it. And so I personally believe that if the people held their strength and were able to stand firm in this time, that there's going to be a very big change. And the main reason, if nothing else, is that businesses, you know, if so many people are refusing to go into restaurants or refusing to go into planes, eventually the incredible collapse of their profit margins and going broke will cause many companies to quickly change their mind. Happened in Russia and Romania just not long ago. The restaurants were going psycho because they couldn't get customers, because like 40 or 50% of people weren't turning up because they weren't getting jabbed. So they very quickly came around and hastily found some new science which backed up what they're saying. So, but the thing that I'm noticing is that people's headspace, and Mark said your prediction of 80% will not be right. Yeah, just to explain on what Mark's talking about, I've said months and months ago that 80% would take the jab, and most people disagreed with me. I said probably at least 70, probably 80. And I said, because 40% of people are pro it, 20% are against it, and 40% are in the middle. I said the ones that are in the middle that got great concerns about this stuff will eventually just give in, because they'll want to travel, they'll want to go and visit Aunt Mary, they'll want to go to Spain, they'll want to go and get drunk in Vegas, they'll, you know, want to be able to live their normal life, they'll start believing the government nonsense. So this is really important for you to become 1 to 20%. And I hope that everyone listening on this one will be. And don't just sort of go, absolutely, that's me. Well, yes, make the commitment. At the same time, realize it's going to be more challenging than you think. And so it comes down to knowing who you are, like your sovereignty, really knowing that you are the sovereign man, woman, that's ultimately accountable only to God and to higher universal law. Those who say we are our gods and there's no universal law that we're accountable to are just plain stupid. So those ones I don't really have anything to say to. Those, by contrast, who completely put themselves under government will equally, unfortunately, not very smart either, because they forget that governments are created by people to bring law and order and bring respectability. Where what we're dealing with now is something completely different. So it's getting back to you first and foremost, realizing this very thing or whatever else. So Shayla said, do you see General Fruin mention that some will get the jab and remaining will be coerced? Probably, yeah. Look, I expect them to be going for 80%. And once they get that, they'll care a lot less. So that's been my prediction. Once they've got 80% on all modeling, they'll care a lot less. And the truth is anyway, it's not making a heck of a lot of difference across the world anyway. So like I said, the main thing is just to know your rights and know who you are and just get on with life. How's my life been lately? Honestly, it just gets better and better. And it's because I just really just don't get caught up in it. I stay busy with service and teaching people and helping people and serving clients in business. And it's a great feeling when you're serving, when you're doing your work, and you're just realizing that these things are what's called temporary aberrations that happen in the canvas of human consciousness that we're dealing with right now. So we talked about the public servant, and realizing that we're the masters. And we are in a real war right now, you know, that we're in a real war. So someone says they will not get the 80% without force. Could not disagree more. I mean, we'll see who's right. I think that I have no doubt whatsoever, in my view, that eventually 75 to 80% will get it, because what happens is people's own heads are their worst enemies. That's what happens. it's when they're lying in their bed, scared shitless, you know, and thinking about what do I do next? And I am meeting people everywhere who I'd regard as conscious. Keep in mind also, there's rumors that APRA, who oversee the allied health profession, are going to be telling them. So everywhere allied health people are starting to do it now. So it's just realizing that. And it's really, and making sure that you are one of these people who is standing firm and knows your sovereignty and knows your power. So I shared previously about the civilization collapse and how we're actually heading into that one. We went through civilization collapses. This is a summary of the last 6 weeks, Wednesday nights, history of spiritual awakenings, why it will get worse before it gets better, why it will go on longer than people think, and why, and it will eventually be better. But one of the biggest things that we'll be teaching a lot is about the whole, is that next year, I predict next year we're going to be heading for some economic problems to add on top of everything else. I was walking around Perth CBD the other day, and I cannot believe how many empty shops there are. I don't know if anyone else is noticing. I'm hearing Sydney's the same in Melbourne, but there are so many empty shops, you know, that I just cannot believe it. You know, so many empty shops. So I'm just curious if anyone else is noticing that. But there's a lot of them. And so we're heading towards a fairly major economic problems in the coming days. That's what I see, especially next year. That's when the full impact of the supply chain problems, where everything else is going on, that's when we're going to start to see that. And so, yeah, economists coming out with warning this week. Yeah, I'm in Melbourne, Adelaide, Perth. Like I was in East Fremantle, and the whole of George Street, there was a major bustling street. I mean, half the shops aren't even open anymore. It's just like, wow. So we're definitely seeing a changeover, and understanding that in these changeover times, there's also great opportunities to prosper if you understand the changes that are happening and you stay mentally clear, concise, and see the opportunities. So my favorite cafe yesterday, I was so annoyed. I went to George Street to get breakfast after my Pilates class, and I walk in there and they're closing up. They're literally carrying out stuff. And I'm like, what's happening? I said, no, you can't shut. And they just said, yeah. And the problem is also the greed of the landlords doesn't help it either, because they said, well, you know, we asked for a rent reduction. They wouldn't give it. We then asked if we could rent half the shop. They wouldn't do it either. And she said, that's happening everywhere to shops. And I just shook my head and I said, gosh, you know, that's one of my pet little hates. And I lost a lot of clients last year who did property investing because I just told them they're a bunch of thieves and scumbags, you know, because of the way they were treating their tenants. And so I got hammered, absolutely hammered for saying that. And I just started to back off one little bit. You're all a bunch of greedy scumbags, you know. As most of you come to our webinars know, I'm blunt as heck. And it was pretty funny. So yeah, so many, yeah, a lot closed faces, Adelaide, yeah, Holly, so many empty shops, very sad for small business open. Yeah, so look, a lot of that's happening right now. So it's really a good time, though, to realize that we are heading for this awakening, but the awakening is starting within people. And the fact that right now, here we are on this webinar on a Wednesday night, and still 2 months after we started doing this, we've still got about 160 people on it. I'm like, okay, you know, so Keith, it's good to see you haven't come down. Oh, those who know me, Keith, I reckon I'm feral. I am. I'm pretty direct and pretty blunt. And my father once taught me, he said that generally he was a brilliant mind-body expert, my father. Like, he was really good at it. And he used to say, you ever notice, Warren, that the people who get cancer are usually the nice people who repress everything? He said the people who are absolutely blunt and most people get annoyed with them usually don't. And yeah, I've noticed that the more I'm truthful with how I'm feeling and who I really am, the better my health actually is. So yeah, heading for one of the greatest one. Hi, Clive and Miranda. This is our first session. We'd love to get previous recordings. Yep, the team can help you on that one. It's on our YouTube channel. So on that one, we're now going to go into the 10 laws of human sovereignty. So hello, Warren, from Ali and West. As always, you into it. Yep. 10,000 people a day cancelling their vaccine appointments. Yep, doesn't surprise me, but there's a lot taking them too. So let me see what else. Warrior is appearing these days. Yep, so Yeah, well, the warrior is really important right now. And I'm really encouraging, I said that last night on our live stream, because someone asked me about, just on a couple of questions. And I said, you just have to be very direct right now and let your warrior come out. It's the only way you get left alone. So it's, so these are these 10 laws. This is our new thing that we've actually done up, that we've just finished doing. So mental mastery. So these are the 10 laws of human sovereignty. So I'll just read these out to you. So let me just get this up. So mental mastery: transform your perspective, develop the mental strength, fortitude, and confidence to ignite your pathway to sovereignty in all areas of life. Second one, emotional mastery: the world within reflects your world without. Master your emotions, become more objective, and take self-responsibility for your thoughts, choices, and actions. The third one, physical mastery: your body is your temple. Be conscious how you look after your health to stay energized, active, and focused. 4 is relational or relationship mastery: hold meaningful and integral connected relationships. Be wise of whom you exchange your energy to ensure you remain integrated on purpose and continuously growing. Social mastery is choose your crowd wisely. Surround yourselves with a community with common values, perspectives, or drives to hold you accountable and bring out the absolute best in you. Then vocational mastery: stay true to your calling. Be in a position or career that generates high level of fulfillment, inspiration, and wealth which aligns with your life purpose. Then cashflow mastery: create your own good fortune. Generate basically a income that gives you the time, freedom, and choices to do what you want when you want. 8 is wealth financial mastery: take control of your financial future, implement systems to keep the money that you make, and build your wealth and your savings, and accumulate a well-balanced asset portfolio, appreciating over time. Spiritual mastery is delving into the mystical. Tap into your deep inner knowing, intuition, and guidance to shape the reality you desire, and having purpose to what you do. And finally, leaving a legacy: how do you want to be remembered? Think philanthropic and commit to create a multi-generational legacy well beyond your lifetime. So that's the big one that we came up with. So creating a legacy well beyond your lifetime. So it's really about, these were like what we call our 10 commandments to being a truly sovereign individual. Okay, so we're going to go through these one by one. Okay, so Mark says fantastic laws. Great. Yeah, I'm glad you enjoyed them. So who liked them? They're our own unique little thing that we came up with, actually. So that we've been working on. Okay, so this is a message from the Holy Bible. My people are destroyed for lack of knowledge. Because you have rejected knowledge, I will also reject you. Now, keep in mind that we're talking about the law of your God. God, higher law, the higher mind, a higher universal law. Think of it like that. I will also reject you, but you should no longer be priests to me, seeing as you've forgotten the law of your God. In other words, you've lost connection with the higher law. I will also forget your children. So this is what starts to happen. Higher laws don't bow for anyone. This is one of the biggest things I learned early in life, and the biggest guidance I'd give everyone. Higher laws don't bow for anyone. In other words, just because you don't like the reality you're creating and you don't like what you're seeing around you, higher laws don't bow for you. Higher laws stay no matter what. This is why the order of creation is God, then sovereign man and woman, then governments, and then persons below that. So best way to think of God is higher, like that higher law, that higher mind, that higher universal commandments that all of us and all upon planet Earth must abide by. And as soon as we go against these universal ordinances, commandments, then things start to break down. And many, many times in the last thousands of years, there has been breakdowns of law and order and of society and things like that. So sovereignty definition is the quality or state of being sovereign or having supreme power or authority. So the full right and power to govern yourself with no interference from outside sources or bodies. So that's basically sovereignty. So one of the things to realize is that why are so many people, for example, right now, so vulnerable to the world and what's going on, to lockdowns, to forced medical coercion? Number one, people don't know their rights very well. That's a big thing. People just don't know their rights all that well. Number two, people are financially dependent on the government, like on Centrelink, are very dependent on. People are dependent on social welfare. People are dependent on what else? You know, there's so many things. So people are dependent on welfare. People are dependent on a salary from a boss. They're dependent on someone else. They've got a mortgage debt that they built up to buy a bigger house to keep their wife or husband happy. They've got all kinds of different things that are going on in their life. And really, ultimately, yep, age pensions, relying on the pensions, relying on this, relying on their child support. There's so many ways we've given up our power. So very, very sobering when we think about it and the state of where the world is really at right now. So for this reason, I'm just typing up something I just realized is a really good thing. Okay. Just almost finished typing something up. So just bear with me, everyone. Okay, here we go. So what I'm doing is I'm just typing up a really good summary of a very good, in the common law movement, I learned about sovereignty. So a child who knows their common law rights, this was a song that we used to sing to start off the course, shall do well in life. A child who knows their common law rights shall do well in life. A child who doesn't know their common law rights, they are vulnerable to addiction, coercion, divorce, suicide. Now, I think we all would all know that all these things are happening in droves right now in society. We're seeing addiction, we're seeing coercion, divorce, suicide. We're seeing kids getting Holly says, sing it. Well, you're the better singer than me, Holly. Okay, I'll sing it. What the heck? A child who knows their common law rights shall do well in life. A child who knows their common law rights shall do well in life. A child who doesn't know their common law rights, they are vulnerable to addiction, coercion, divorce, suicide. There you go. Who enjoyed my song? Probably not as good as Holly, but a round of applause. Okay, I could sing Play School, but I won't for now. So it was good. I actually used to be a professional musician. I've actually got a piano. In fact, Gamer than me. Yeah, I don't have a lot of shame. In fact, hang on a sec. Seeing as where, yeah. In fact, I'll actually show you if I can remember. What I'll do one time for everyone is I'm actually used to be a professional piano player, so I'll actually do a live stream and live stream a piano song if you want me to, just for a little bit different. So yeah, I do enjoy music, and in fact, I love it. In fact, that was one of my dreams, that when I was younger, I was going to be a professional musician. I used to run bands. I used to write songs. I mastered Jerry Lee Lewis and Little Richard. I used to sing love romantic songs, and like I used to love Elton John, all that kind of stuff. My grandfather, in fact, won a knighthood for his music. So my mum was a music teacher. So we got heaps of music, and that's one of the things I want to get in Perth is a band happening. Like, I'm so keen to get a band happening again with some really cool people. So who knows, maybe people are going to go, oh, I'll join in with you for a band. But I love it. You know, I've run bands, I've written music, I've done, even learned opera at one stage. Yeah, play piano. It's a lot of fun. It really is. And it's a good time to be doing really fun stuff and getting out and about and doing stuff like that. Kate, if we ever go to Gulag Sydney, we'll come and see. Yeah. Yeah, Sydney's certainly a bit of a case, isn't it, right now? God. Because they might have to move to Perth. Yeah, I have to say, I'm not complaining living over here. It's been pretty smooth, though, and really most of the time up here, just as long as you realize that you're not going to get in or out of our borders. So a child who knows their common law rights. So this is really important to realize that all of us are an inner child at heart. And, you know, people ask me about my kids. I said, so I'm not bothered by them the slightest, because they know their common law rights really well, like really, 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 really well. We taught them it from young. I mean, they are extremely empowered when it comes to everything about, you know, jabs, masks, finances, business, everything like that. And even relationships. In fact, none of my 4 boys have ever had a girlfriend, and none of them actually want one little bit. And they did make me laugh. They just said, well, we've got other things to focus on right now and don't want to get entangled in, you know, in things like that right now. They said, if we happen to bump into someone quality, you know, we'll go that way. So when kids are empowered, you notice they don't need as much. They tend to become strong in their power. Whereas when people don't have their common law rights and don't feel empowered, they're vulnerable to codependency. They're vulnerable to emotional addiction, you know, things like that. Yeah, Sandrine said, just move in WA as long as you don't work as a nurse in a hospital. Yeah, look, that was inevitable. I think, unfortunately, just about everywhere that's going to happen. In WA, yeah, there's no way on pig's earth, you know, that I would work in any government job in West Australia right now. And I certainly wouldn't work in anything like that at the moment. So this is why sovereignty and being vulnerable to coercion is generally lack of mental strength, lack of mental boundaries. So the sovereign individual, which talked about the change that we're moving into, and I mentioned how we just don't learn about this, and we just give up our power way, way, way too easily, you know. So we're so silent and disempowered, like so disempowered. I mean, if you really ponder that and you understand that our inner world reflects our outer world, how disempowered could we be as a civilization? And I was saying this to my sons the other day. I said, does anyone actually ask the question, how seriously fucked up must our level of self-empowerment be within ourselves for us to have created these absolutely diabolical realities that we've got going on in society? I mean, there has to be some major shit going on in our inner worlds, which are bouncing off each other in a collective consciousness. Don't know if anyone else has thought about this, like or whatever else. I'm presuming probably 1 or 2 have, or maybe even a few more. But this is the thing that boggles my mind. Like, how bad have we actually got in losing our power and our ability to speak out? Like little things. Like I remember when the mask laws first came out, I was just astonished as I watched how people got absolutely worked up about it. And I'm like, I just got on, read the mandates really, really carefully, like really carefully. I read them and just thought, okay, well, there's an exemption here. I meet that. That's it. And that was it. Didn't bother me. Didn't think about it again. And I'd hear people going, oh, how did you do it? I said, I just did it. And people said, Powell, have you not done the census? I said, I just didn't do it. Didn't cross my mind to do it. It just didn't go through my head to even think about doing it. I said, I don't like doing surveys. That's how I saw it. So Robert Kiyosaki says the current school system has trained society to be slaves and soldiers. That's what we have. If you go back and study the origin of the school system, it was one of Robert Kiyosaki's book, and he studies the Prussian system under Peter the Great that was designed to train up great soldiers, and it was our school system. So when kids go to school, they're basically being trained up to be government bitches, soldiers, and be slaves. If not, they're being trained up to go to university, get a job, and work for someone who failed in school, as Larry Ellison said. So I'm like, we deliberately chose a church school for our kids that was run by a man who was a guy, a close friend of mine, a pastor, who I knew would give a lot of freedom to our kids, and he did. And then we homeschooled them. And so it's so important. And I think the homeschooling movement is going to go gangbusters in the next little while, because I'm sure now they're trying to vaccinate kids. And I've heard rumors that kids are now getting sick and dying. And now I don't know how true it is, but I've heard rumors about that kind of stuff. So being empowered enough to speak out, this is our lives, our freedom, and everything. So any last trace of lacking power and sovereignty has to end as of today for everyone. It really does. And to just decide, and not to kind of run around, ranting and raving and saying, I refuse to comply. No, actually learning your rights and getting empowered and just going, yeah, I'm just going to live my life as normal. And, there's a good reason why many of the rich are fleeing right now, because they can see economic collapses, they can see what's going on. And even, many of the wealthy, they're very, very empowered when it comes to money, but they don't really quite know how to handle a situation like this. That's what I'm finding. They just got no idea how to handle it. I'm better equipped than most of my wealthy friends. Someone said US is shutting the right down to homeschool. Surely the church, the women are slaves. Yeah, look, some churches are, not all churches. I was in a really good one where it wasn't like that, surely myself. But yeah, they, unfortunately, a lot of the system from the schools, from the church system, to everything has been happened. So the 10 laws of human sovereignty, let's just go through them one by one. So let's just begin with mental mastery, and a good little quote here that I've got. Concentration, discipline, and focus is the root of all mental mastery. So I'm just going to stop sharing screen just for a minute. Yeah, so I'll be coming back to it. So concentration is at the root of mental. So mental mastery is just being really, really having mental power. One thing I love about athletes is that I was watching a speech by Andrew Bogut, who was a basketball player. I don't know if anyone saw it a couple of days ago. He used to play for the Golden State Warriors that I supported and various others NBA teams. And Andrew Bogut was absolutely brilliant. He got up and he actually openly says, you should watch it, everyone, B-O-G-U-T. He got up and he said, he just said straight out, he goes, look, he said, I was offered money to get up and promote the lockdowns and everything that's going on. He said, no, I will not do it. He said, I have good money, I'm financially prosperous, but he said, I'm speaking out for everyone else. And so it was really good, to see that. So you have got people like that speaking out, openly owning that kind of stuff. That's a guy who's mentally tough. A sportsman who went through horrendous pain and injuries in his time and broke his leg in one of the worst injuries I saw. And, so he's a mentally tough guy. And, yeah, he'd have to be those injuries. Yeah, he had his leg break was just absolutely like horrific, and he actually, over 2 years, he got back to the game. So, yeah, mental toughness right now is going to be the greatest strength you could ever get, mental mastery. And how do you stay mentally strong? You practice your mind. You practice being strong. You get used to pushing back. You get used to pushing back against hard things. And I told people how I do things like swim in ridiculously cold water. If I don't go down the beach to swim in cold water, I'll get straight into a cold shower to start my day, and I'll scream every time I do it, every single time, So doing hard stuff, speaking out against stuff that you're really, really speaking out against stuff. That's the biggest thing I'd be saying for people right now. So absolutely speaking out. So Eleanor, a cold shower is great for immunity. Yeah, absolutely. It's really good for immunity. So mental toughness. That's why sports people, I watch a lot of sports people. I read books like Jack Reacher. I like watching elite sports and elite players. And I know that often people around me go, why do you watch so much sport? Television is all this. And I said, yeah, I'm very aware that television is all mass media. But I said, I love watching elite sports like Michael Jordan and other people, because these people just think relentlessly. I don't know if anyone has actually read the book Relentless by Tim Grover. Has anyone read Relentless yet by Tim Grover, that book? No. Okay, I'll just show you it. I would actually suggest to everyone that it's a really, really good one, really good one to actually watch. So I'm just going to quickly, I'm just going to get the book up for you. Yeah, this one here, Relentless by Tim Grover. It's a really good book about absolutely mental strength and mental focus. That's one of my favorite books, which I've read over and over and over again. And yeah, Michael Jordan's old documentaries. I mean, one of my favorite stories about Michael Jordan in this book was where one of the players, when they were playing for a championship, he came on, they were training, and he came out and he asked where the player was, and they couldn't find him. And he actually walked in looking for him, and he saw him having a rub down on the table. And he actually walked up, pushed the physio aside, tipped the guy off the table and yelled it and went off his face to them and saying, mate, we're not here to have a massage and rub. He said, I'm hurting more than anyone with my injuries. He said, you are going to get on that court and you will train now. And he actually grabbed the guy by the arm and dragged him onto the court. So he wasn't always well liked, Michael Jordan, but boy, did he get results. So I know with this particular time right now, that's why I'm really relentless and mental toughness just means that when things happen, that you're ready for it. You're anticipating as much as you can. Do I predict that there could be more setbacks and challenges coming up when I'm living in WA? I think, I'm sure at some stage there'll be things to address. And the critical thing is, if you're mentally tough, you can always work and find a way around any system. I've already been working at finding, for example, my questions I've simply said to my sons is, I said, I'm not particularly worried about this new passport because I said, I'll be flying wherever I want without having any kind of jab. And they said, how will you do it? I said, I don't know yet, but I said, there's always a way around laws and I expect to find a way around it. I said, and I will find a way around it. I said, I generally have found ways around every law I can remember. I remember in 1996, when I decided to go back to studying law, I was partway through my degree and I'd stopped in 1990 and I decided to go back and I was told, you can't go back now, it's too late. You missed it. And I just said, no, I'm going to go. And I rang around everywhere until I finally found somebody who said, well, there is only one way you can get enrolled back in for this year, and you need special permission by the chairman of academic board, but that rarely happens. Unless you've got an insanely good excuse, you won't get it. So I thought, okay, I'll get it. And I wrote him a letter. I pressed to them, and he actually rang me really annoyed, but he actually said, you're a real pest, but he said, I'm going to basically enroll you. I've decided to make a special exemption. So the truth is, having that, generally you find great successful people, they just assume they can win in anything that they're doing. And so there's always a loophole around anything. There's always a loophole. That's what I'll say. Do I know what it is yet? Not really, but I'm getting clues, but that's all I will say for now. So mental toughness, really being mentally tough and just always knowing that every law must have a remedy, always must have a remedy. Mental tough is anything but love and light. Like love and light is like everything will work out fine. Mental toughness says when things aren't working out fine, I will plow my fucking way through it. I remember Michael Jordan reading about him in one championship where he actually said to his team when they were in trouble, he just said, look, he said, if I have to, I'll carry all of you on my back and we'll win this. He said, just don't get in my way and don't give me shit when I'm going for my shot. And that was his rule. If necessary, I'll carry you on my back. And that's the kind of mentality that's to me, someone who really is mentally sovereign, just somebody who just says that whatever goes on. I know that whatever, like WA, one of the things that I've noticed that a lot of people are having challenges with right now is the fact that they actually can't travel. Now, when I asked how I feel about it, I said, this is the thing. Bears know in winter it's time to hibernate. Squirrels know in winter they just gather up nuts and go and hide in their cave. I said, this is the thing. We're living in a time of autumn, winter, and everyone's still trying to run around as if it's summer. I said, this is not summer right now. We're heading into a dark winter. We're heading into a really challenging time. This is not the time to be running about moaning about the fact we can't travel. I said, there's bigger problems lying afoot right now in society than you can't visit Aunt Mary and can't go and get laid in Vegas. There's much bigger problems than that right now. You're talking about major erosion of freedoms of movement. You're talking about major economic problems ahead. You're talking about possible, vulnerabilities to grids, electricity things, I'm hearing rumors, I don't know how true it is, of truck drivers going on strike and people can't actually, and might have difficulty getting food for a couple of weeks. Now, that's more problematic. You know, so the idea is actually right now to realize that it's in a winter and we've got to, and behaving like you're in a winter. That's being mentally tough. It's like one thing I've learned with mentally tough clients and business people who I've worked with, they're realists as well. They know when there's a problem and they act fast. They don't sit there moaning and wishing that things were the way that they actually are. So, yeah, so basically it's real. The mentally tough person is for planning ahead. I mean, I've planned ahead in terms of stuff. I've gone, that truck driver strike, as soon as I heard about it myself, my instant thing was skepticism, because I find 99 out of 100 things I hear, I don't believe. I researched it carefully. It looks like there might be some truth in it. Although the reason it's happening doesn't appear to be what everyone thinks it is. It's more to do with the fact that they're very angry about their pay rates. So even so, that could be problematic. I worked out, so therefore I've actually been going through carefully where I get all my food sources in Perth, everywhere. Most of my stuff is locally produced. I just get it from very nearby. So we're less fussed about it. But there's certain things that we get from, you know, rely on trucks and supplies. So we're like, we better make sure we stock up on those sort of things there. So yeah, Eleanor says that's why we've got to be squirrels right now. Yes, and being mental sovereignty means you're a realist. It means you're tough and you're clear-minded. And you have the ability to see the opportunities. Because right now we have some absolutely great opportunities going on in the world right now. I can really say that right now. So, okay, that's mental sovereignty. So the next one is emotional mastery. So it's achieved the heart trusts the mind and the mind trusts the heart. So emotional mastery is all about learning to manage your emotions, your charges, and not letting your emotions get to you. So right now, people are, you know, getting, you know, Holly says the media are crossing two stories about the trucks. One is pay rates, one is that. Yeah, look, that would be my guess, Holly, something like that. And the other one is some people furious about this border, because I have heard about this Queensland, New South Wales border stuff. Yeah, the mandatory tax. So yeah, look, my guess is probably a bit of both. And I think especially on the East Coast. If I was in New South Wales or Queensland or Victoria right now, I would be taking very massive defensive action, that's for sure. I'd be less fussed in South Australia, Northern Territory, WA or Tasmania, but even so, I would still be, you know, mindful of that. So emotional mastery. So many people, when it comes to this area, they get emotional with what's going on, you know, really emotional. And or energy in motion. So the word emotion comes from emotion, energy in motion. So that's, yeah, energy in motion. So as soon as we get imbalanced in our emotional state of mind, that's what's called a charge. So Dr. John D. Martini, in fact, talks about it like this. So he says that ultimately the universe is pure light. It's just a pure light. In other words, it's just, there's no duality in the pure light, so to speak. So there's no good or bad, so to speak, in the higher universe. When we're living in this particular universe where we are, there is plenty of duality, there's plenty of good and bad and good and evil and dark and light. So the idea is to actually neutralize all of the charges. So as soon as you are, you know, emotionally worked up about what's going on, the best thing you can do is balance it out by looking at the opposite energy that's going on. So for example, and this is something that Grace, who's my business partners and former wife, is very good at doing. She works with people in that area. But like, let's just say right now, what's the other side of the spectrum, apart from all of the lockdowns and freedoms and rights? There's more opportunity than I've seen in my lifetime right now. I'm noticing that I'm getting more in my webinars than I've ever had before. I'm noticing that people are waking up like never before. I'm finding people are listening to messages that previously I'd given up telling people. I'm finding that people are I'm finding that people are really getting back to their spiritual priorities right. People are getting their priorities back right. People are starting to step up and say, what can I do to change things? So I'm seeing a lot of good things coming about as a result of all of this. Equally, if you ever get too elated about something, like let's say that you make $1 million tomorrow, or you suddenly have some great thing, equally, when you get elated, I'm sure in your life, all of you at some stage have been really elated, like you met someone, you fell deeply in love with them, you felt so emotional, so great and so happy. And then within a matter of weeks, you had the exact opposite experience. Like you felt absolutely despondent. You felt like distraught. Anyone know what I mean? Like you've been deeply in love or deeply overjoyed, but next thing you're in absolute devastation and misery. Yeah, I'd be very surprised if a few of you don't know what I mean. And that's what happens when you don't have emotional mastery. You go, then you go, So anyway, I'm sure there's actors who are better than me, but I'm sure you can get that. So we tend to go really to the pendulum rather than learning to balance it out. And yeah, you can have joy, but true joy and true love is where you have, you know, the balance. You know that a very person that you feel a deep connection with equally has the opposite side to them, that really beautiful side to them. They're also probably an absolute narcissistic asshole at heart as well. And equally, that person who seems like a narcissist or an asshole, they've actually got a really kind side to them when you look deeper. So emotional mastery means learning to balance your charges and learning to stay balanced and stay present. It doesn't mean repress. It doesn't mean that you start repressing it and try and be all that. You want to feel things, but at the same time, when you feel things, be able to do it in balance. And this is a whole topic or webinar in itself. But yeah, so then what happens is that we start repressing our emotion because we feel this great joy and great, like in love and all this great happiness. And then we go to the other extreme. So then we just start thinking, oh God, I may as well just, stop being like that. And we almost become living our life sheltered away like a tortoise, afraid of disappointment, hiding away in our shell. So we try and limit our emotions and keep them repressed to stop being too happy, stop being too angry, stop being too sad. Can anyone relate to me there, where you've either now or previously lived in a lot of repression? Anyone know what I'm talking about or dealing with that right now and learning to actually express and feel and release? Yeah, a few people. So being a turtle is very peaceful. Yep. So, okay, so emotional mastery. This is why I did a lot of work, everyone, with psychotherapy. I used to be all over the shop. I really did, because I'm naturally a very emotional person. I mean, I'm a musician, I'm creative, I'm a singer. I am actually ridiculously sensitive. People who know me know I feel things deeply. I've actually had chiropractors say to me, if you got paid $100 for every emotional stress that you like carrying, mate, you'd be the richest man going. They said, you're ridiculous. You collect these things like a hobby. This is what I used to be told for years. And I did, I carried so many, ridiculous stuffs or whatever else. So I feel things really, really deeply. I really do. And so I noticed that I would get depressed easily. I'd get happy. I'd feel love and I'd feel sorrow. And so I had to learn to really balance all that side out. And I did a lot of psychotherapy. I did a lot of counseling. I've done a lot of energy work to clear myself up. And yeah, I have a very sensitive nervous system. I was very vulnerable to autoimmune and sickness. But once I learned to master all that, I've noticed these days my emotions are very balanced and in a good state. So I would definitely say that doing emotional mastery, I mean, who else here is quite sensitive and a bit psychic, and you feel people's energies and you feel what's going on with the people around you? Anyone else, or am I the only one on planet Earth? Yep, most of you. Yep, but learning to master it. Yep, seems like I'm not on my own. So the third one here is this one here is health mastery. I mean, that is obviously the biggest topic of the world right now. So physical health mastery. So really looking after your body. I eat really, really well. I eat very organically. I do intermittent fasting. I've actually spoke to experts on infectious diseases to really understand the science behind it and really find out what the truth is rather than the conspiracies. I do Pilates, reformer Pilates. Does anyone else do yoga or Pilates out of interest? Like anyone else here? Or is it just me? I'm just curious. Yeah. Anyone here does reformer Pilates? Yep, a lot of yoga. Couple of people. Taja, it's my work. Oh, awesome. Yep. Some would probably do some gym or whatever else. So yeah, doing exercise is the key. I find that looking after your body is so important right now in what is going on. So that's another area of sovereignty. Now, again, most of you, that's pretty, I mean, I'm speaking to converters, so I won't spend a lot of time on this one today because people obviously know that. But I would really encourage you again, that part of your health mastery is understanding ways to look after your health and understanding ways to understand what's going on in the world with all this stuff to do with the whole, coercion and things like that. I will actually tell you as well, one little, secret as well. I've even gone as far as to study and look into frequency medicine because I've got a good frequency practitioner studying deeper yoga secrets about neutralizing any effects of any, vaccine or shedding around me. So I actually did a lot of study on that as well, how to neutralize the frequency. I've actually been working with some of you saw Shazar who spoke at the thing. We've been talking about ways to neutralize frequencies because I've done that previously in relation to, things that were going on in my life. So I basically, when I years ago, I had a lot of side effects from the polio and smallpox vaccines. So Shazar helped me to, as long as another guy, to fix a lot of that. So we've been looking at ways to neutralize the frequencies so that no matter what happens, it doesn't affect me anyway, So there's just all this kind of stuff. So that's part of sovereignty and health mastery is being prepared and taking charge of your own body and things like that. Relationship mastery. Now, this is an area where people generally fuck up really bad. I mean, people don't get taught this in school. No one gets taught how to build relationships with a partner or just with people generally. So most people are really bad at intimacy, like really bad. They tend to either be codependent, clingy, or they tend to be withdrawers, natural withdrawers. And very few are really balanced. Someone mentioned homeopathy. Yeah, I love homeopathy. Healy device for frequency. Yeah, I use Healy. That's pretty good. So out of interest here, just for a bit of fun. So who here knows there tend to be more a clinger and who here tends to be more a kind of repressor or a withdrawer? So what are you? Sashi's a withdrawer. A lot of withdrawers. Few clingers. Yep. Withdrawer, mixture. Yeah, so most of us have both. Yeah, I was definitely a bit of both. I would be whatever else. So yeah, generally being able to do that. Holly, avoidant, dismissive. I haven't heard that one before, Holly. You must have created a whole new category. Avoidant, dismissive. Definitely got to tell me more about what that means. Okay, so relationship mastery. It also means being able to build intimate friendships. One of the reasons why I learned Tantra, for example, was although it started out about sex when I first learned Tantra, I actually learned early on that Tantra was more about the ability to build intimacy. When I first started learning Tantra 13 years ago, I was horrendous at building intimacy. I really just didn't know how to do that. And I found difficulty to open myself up and trust, especially women. And I noticed that the more that I did Tantra, the better I got at it. And these days, I really enjoy relationships and connections with people. I really do. I find that I enjoy being around people. I enjoy going places with people. You know, I enjoy building really rich, intimate connections with people. And sometimes I've actually had to watch getting myself into trouble only because I just like building a really intimate bonding connection with someone. And what I have found is that most people aren't really very good at doing it. And they kind of tend to, be a withdrawer or a clinger or don't quite know how to do it. So I always appreciate it when I meet someone who I can have a really rich, intimate connection with in some stage. So Katie says, Tantra is sensuality, not sexuality. Yeah, look, sex is part of it, Katie, from the teachers I've learned, but it's actually kind of like the last meal in the menu sort of thing. It's more about your ability to build emotional richness for people and build good connections and quality connections. And right now, this is a skill that's critical for sovereignty, and having your networks across the world, having your networks. I've got so many networks in my life right now in the support network. I know that whatever's going on in the world right now, if I need a support, I've got people. I've got people in Vegas. I've got people in Australia and New Zealand. I've got people here. I've got people across the East Coast. I've got so many people, good relationships. I've got lawyers I can work with. I've got experts I can talk to, doctors that I know. I've got, even like high-level politicians that I know. So, and I've been able to build really good friendships and relationships with people. So, Katie, from the sensuality comes fantastic sexuality. Yeah, well, my Tantra teacher taught me, Katie, that Tantra is like a slow cooker, not a fast food meal. And I think it's a really good summary of it. So, and again, it's more about really, really good ability to build intimacy. That's what Tantra was about, and spiritual enlightenment. So ability to build good networks, good friendships, and things like that. So if I accept the fact that relationships are here to make me conscious instead of happy, they become a wonderful self-mastery tool, but it keeps realigning me with my higher purpose for living, by Eckhart Tolle, which is a great quote. So relationships that we have are more to grow, to be conscious, to really build value to each other's life. That's the biggest thing. A sovereign individual sees relationships as an opportunity to build value into someone else's life as well as their own. They see it as an equal exchange of energy for fair exchange. As soon as someone is a drainer from you and you're doing all the giving, or someone's doing all the giving to you, you don't have a relationship. You have a codependency. You have a parasitic thing happening. Most people, what they call relationships, are just toxic expressions of shadows. It's all they are. Just pure toxic expressions of deep, dark shadows. And, it's, I'm sure many of you know what I mean. True relationships are very equal, fair exchange. They're a lot of fun. And to me, a quality relationship in my life is 90% fantastic and 10%, we have our little things we've got to work out. And I'm talking about all kinds of relationships like family, friends, business partners, everyone. My business partners I have great relationships with. My friends I get on really well with. I have, one of my friends, I find if a friend starts getting toxic or mucking me around regularly, I don't want him in my life anymore. So relationship mastery means you choose and build quality relationships. And most importantly, you can cull very quickly people who are idiots out of your life. So Suzanne says, a strong relationship with the creator, my best friend right now. So yeah, good relationships. Social mastery. Angelina Jolie is probably one of my favorite philanthropists, as much as I love Bill Gates and Warren Buffett. Angelina Jolie is probably one of my favorite. And the reason why is I never used to like her much. I used to think she was really annoying in her movies and that stuff like that. And I remember my astrologer who I saw, who's actually has done readings for a lot of celebrity, told me specifically to look into Angelina Jolie because he said, you two have got freakishly similar astrological charts. And I was like, okay. And when I read about what she's done across the world, I was actually in tears. It was actually a big kick up my ass and a spanking I got because I judged her, in my, way of seeing the world. And I thought, gosh, this lady, what she's done for Africa and places is just like mind blowing what she's done with sex trafficking, what she's done to help with kids, what she's done. There was a place where animals were in danger from poachers and she bought the whole land and insisted, on getting it set aside as a sanctuary. And she did it. She would go and buy huge parts of land in Africa, specifically so she could make it heritage, tremendous individual. And that's someone who's And what she was told by her astrologer, from what he told me, was, you know, she, yeah, so social mastery. So yeah, Angelina Jolie, absolutely brilliant. She's someone who's done a lot of really, really good stuff. Yeah, it's worth looking into her. Really looking into her. So one of the things that she did was she was told by an astrologer if she made a lot of money, that she would make more money if she gave back a lot, which she did. So she gave, but she's done that. She's given back a lot. So she's prospered, but she's used her wealth to give back to the world, a real philanthropist. So that's an example of someone who's found purpose and meaning in her life. She has a horrendous childhood story when you read about of abuse, of alcoholism, self-harm, attempt suicide, slashing her wrists, all that kind of stuff, you know? So yeah, she's, you know, a really good example. So as you start to do that, so sorry, yep, that's good. Okay, so vocational mastery. So this is another thing that part of sovereignty as well, finding a career that you really actually enjoy, you know? So that's another thing as well. So finding a career or a life that you see a career or vocational path as a journey, then twists and turns rather than a straight line. So getting yourself a really good vocation or career. So if you don't actually know what you enjoy doing right now, find something that you enjoy doing, like actually go and learn a skill. I know that my sister, when the lockdowns happened in Perth last year, she went out and did some poetry. And I know Steve Plummer, who works with us, he started writing poems. A lot of people have started to develop their skills and get creative again, you know, so it's really, 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 really good. So actually giving careers and things like that. Can everyone just ease up on the chat, please? When you're getting all negative on this about the Bill Gates and others, could you please stop it? Otherwise, I'm just going to instruct my team to kick people off who are going to get caught up in this. So thank you very much. Let's just ease up on the chat. It's starting to really annoy me now. Okay, so vocational mastery. So really finding yourself a career that you really enjoy and things like that. And getting yourself some skills, some learnings, and doing that. Who here, just out of interest, in the last 18 months, has gone ahead and actually done a career or gone and done some more studies? Anyone? I'm just curious. Please excuse me, everyone. I get very heated, as you know, but thank you for understanding. Yes. Yep. No, it's good. A lot of people, I'm meeting so many people who've changed their jobs, started a new business, gone and started doing poetry. I know one of my friends took up piano playing and went and studied music. I know someone else went and wrote their first poem. Holly's about to start a short law course. Yep. Clive, philanthropy. Shayla started living my dream, following my heart. Tasia changed my career. Someone about gardening, learning the didgeridoo. Exactly, yeah. So there's so many good things you can actually do, and new skills, new hobbies, and new businesses. That's what I'm finding is coming out of all of this as well. Because people have been freed up from the rat race and the slavery where they're having to run around doing stuff, all the stuff, you know, things like that. So absolutely amazing. So Judith learning massage, that's amazing, that's wonderful. So cash flow. Now, this is a big one right now. Cash flow or financial mastery. I love what Warren Buffett said. We don't have to be smarter than the rest. We just have to be more disciplined than the rest. And getting a business and getting really good in your cash flow. One thing I would encourage you, but sovereignty is about learning financial skills. One thing I've noticed, it's one thing to go and learn a career, but that's a vocational skill, okay? That's a career. Financial mastery and cash flow is a completely different thing. This is learning the art of business. This is learning the art of how to grow successful companies and things like that. This is the art of learning how to manage your finances, how to build budgets, how to build spreadsheets, how to manage your expenses. This is about learning all this kind of stuff. This is about learning investing and things like that. So cash flow mastery as well. So one of our events we're going to be doing because we're going to be doing a one-day event in September, 1 October, 1 November, and we're going to have one on cash flow. We're going to have one on common law rights and sovereignty, and we're going to be having one on asset protection, looking after your wealth, and keeping yourself safe from the Great Reset. So really important right now to realize that learning financial, who here knows, but they don't actually know much about, you got a vocation, but who here knows you don't really know how to grow wealth and build cash flow successfully? Who here knows that's one thing you really know you can improve a lot, just out of interest? Yep, quite a few. Yep. So this is something that I would really encourage you to master at this time, because there's so many ways and opportunities in Australia right now and across the world to make cash flow at this time. Thanks to the internet, it's just amazing the amount of opportunities. I mean, my kids are finding businesses all the time, new opportunities. My friends that I'm talking about, I've got one friend who started 4 network marketing businesses over the last few years, and especially in 2 in the last 15 months alone. She's got cash flow and income coming from all of them. She leverages them off each other. I know someone else who's started 2 companies in the last 12 months, just doing products and selling stuff and teaming up with people to do things. So it's such a good time to master cash flow. And then when you get the cash flow coming in, follow basic wise financial management system. So one little tip I'll give you is that cash flow goes in equal proportion to fair exchange. In other words, giving great service. One of the reasons that I give a lot of service in our webinars and business is universally then I have the right, to be well rewarded for it. And I do get well rewarded. I mean, clients, we've had more clients been signing up the last 2-3 months than almost any time I can remember, but I've been giving back a lot. So all of you noticed I've been giving lots and lots of free webinar, but it's like the universe or God is no one's debtor. I have been getting so much business and clients and new opportunities and new cash flow things coming our way and new people. So but basically, in saying that, I wouldn't have had this come back for me if I wasn't ready for it. We set businesses up, we set financial management in place, we work really, really hard to build good systems and all that kind of stuff. So I mentioned about the flags to be sovereign, and cash flow and investment are 2 very important part of it. So wealth mastery or asset. So what people can do is very different from what people will actually do. So having 2 sources of income is important as having 2 hands or 2 feet. I love that one. That's a really good quote. And rich people are committed to being rich. Poor people want to be rich. So in other words, rich people just know that's their path to be wealthy. So what's the difference between wealth mastery and, say, cash flow mastery? The big difference is this is about growing an asset base. For example, do you save money? Do you have a regular automated share investment plan where you're putting money aside into shares, putting money aside into anything? And on the 2 sources of income, one of my mentors once said to me, 1 is a very dangerous number. So again, 1 is a very dangerous number. I remember I used to joke when I was married and say, 1 is a very dangerous number. Can I get a mistress next week? And I would kind of get a dirty look when Grace and I were married. But anyway, 1 is a very dangerous number. So the point is having 2 sources of income and rich people committed to be very, very rich. So, but many people say, well, what do I do right now? I mean, how do I get rich when I'm at this position? You start by saving, getting a saving system. So we'll be teaching this in one of our one-day events. I'll be teaching you really proven systems of savings, automated debit creations, the kind of opportunities exist in the world, so you're aware of what you can actually do. Most of you will be, blown away by what you can actually invest in and what you can make money from now. Keith, it's hard enough looking after one woman. Yeah, I think many women would say that about men too, Keith, but yeah. That's why one of my friends once said to me about the guys in the Bible had 2 wives and 2 mistresses. I'd say, God, they probably didn't have any money by the end of it. So, holy see, Keith, what is dangerous? Yeah. Well, I think one woman's as dangerous, Holly, as 2. Anyway, they can cause a lot of challenges and vice versa. Yeah, men are easy. Yeah, it's funny though. I have this joke among my friends, but I've actually I went, and part of my relationship mastery training was I went and learned everything I could about women and about men. I did so many courses. I studied every book and science I could find about it. By the time I finished, I actually agreed. I thought actually women are quite easy to understand once you understand and certain things about the feminine, and as are men. And once you actually get it, it is actually easier than you think. So sovereign people really do aim to understand things and things like that. So wealth mastery, getting a really good savings, wealth creation plan, cash, gold, silver, stable assets, and things like that, and mastering, mastering wealth. This is an example which we'll be teaching when we do our one-day event, the model portfolio method. Just about any good book on financial management teaches model portfolio. And this way you're getting a balanced, stable portfolio as you learn to balance out your wealth. And there's ways you can do that no matter where you are, to start from basics. Spiritual mastery, learning to really master, the laws of spirit. And as Da Vinci said, one can have no smaller or greater mastery than mastery of oneself. And I couldn't agree more. Eckhart Tolle says a pivotal, spiritual attribute is that of self-mastery, the strength to place reason over appetite. Self-mastery builds a strong conscience, and your conscience determines your moral responses in difficult, tempting, and trying situations. And a good example is that Andrew Bogut, the basketballer, probably has very good spiritual mastery and strong ethics and values. There's no question that he's got a spiritual purpose and a deeper meaning to his life. So that's why for him, the temptation when he was offered a lot of money to get up and promote the lockdowns, he refused because his ethics and his values and his spiritual value system was far greater than his money or anything like that. So having a clear spiritual basis. I've studied most of the major religions. I started off in the Christian church. I ended up studying the New Age. I read the Celestine Prophecy. I studied Hinduism, Mormonism, Buddhism, mysticism, Gnosticism. I've gone through just about anything and everything, Jehovah's Witnesses, Adventists. I gave all of them a fair look at. In the end, I found that I've created my own spiritual mastery or system of values or commandments. My bare basic is I follow very closely some of the Christian ones, but in saying that, I found much of the Hindu teachings on Brahma. I'm really drawn to them and Krishna at the moment. And then I've developed a lot of my own mysticism theories and things like that as time has gone on, as I've studied many of the deeper teachings and things like that. So, and finally, legacy mastery. So what you leave behind is not what is engraved in stone monuments, but what is woven into the lives of others. I'm pleased when people write to me over the last few weeks and thanking me how much these webinars have changed their lives and helped them. That's great, because if all of you have found more power and more meaning in your life and have become more balanced as a result of the work, I've done something at least which has made a difference. And that feels good. It really does. I'm glad when I hear people are happy and getting results. For me, leaving a mark on the world, and not the mark of the beast where you get microchipped or that shit, but a mark on the world that actually shows that I've been here. That's been one of my biggest dreams or legacy, is to show that I've actually been here. But I don't just come and then one day I'm gone and no one knows I came, apart from a few people crying at a funeral. I'm really big on having that when I leave, there'll be something behind that shows I've been here. Some kind of sovereignty financial training center. Edward and I right now are working on the one thing that probably drives us more than anything. It's this youth sovereignty foundation we're working on to empower teenage youth, especially, and kids. We are both so excited. We have friends who charge for doing that mentoring, and Edward and I just decided straight out, we're not going to do that. Apart from when we have events to cover costs, we're not going to be charging for a lot of our stuff that we start doing on that. I desire to have a whole big worldwide education system for youth to give youth financial futures, and set up a whole program for wealthy people to sponsor children, sponsor youth to actually become financially educated and learn their right to sovereignty and power. And I'm sure many of you have been inspired by that. That's one of the things that drives us. And then for me, it's setting up a religion or spiritual work that gives people a foundation for spiritual values as well, a new breed of church or spiritual religion. So really, there's a big legacy that drives everything that we're doing behind us. And love doing philanthropy, love doing anything like that. It's really rewarding and very fulfilling. So planting a legacy, as someone says here, is planting seeds in a garden that you never actually get to see. A real legacy goes beyond your lifetime. It's something that when you've gone, you don't actually know what difference you made, but you did. I'm sure Gandhi had no idea about the difference he would make. And yet Gandhi, of course, is revered to this day for the legacy that he left. But no doubt Gandhi just did what he did because he desired to change India for the freedoms of Indian people. You know, Gandhi did a tremendous legacy, so to speak. Okay, so any questions, everyone? Yeah, any comments or questions on any of this before we end today? I mean, how did you enjoy that? Like I said, my aim was to really focus on headspace and really on getting a bit of an outline on sovereignty and just do something a little bit different tonight. So it's always good to get feedback, because for me, I know we did a survey right now and we found that a lot of people right now, for example, are really keen to learn about wealth protection. That seems to be very high. And the two biggest things that people are really like seeming to know much about is protecting their money and their wealth and their assets. And the other one, things like that. So wealth protection, and the other one too is mindset and things like that. So anything to do with that. So thank you, Zoe. Thank you, Jean. Yep. Thank you, everyone. No, it's been really good. Yep, about wealth protection. Excellent. Yeah, so look, just to finish off, everyone, someone said about learning more about Tantra. Yeah, there's plenty of places that can be taught that. It's a great skill. In terms of what's coming up next, or just to share more about this event, yeah, so we're going to be doing a series of one-day events just over the next 3 months. So we're going to be doing one in September. At this stage, looks like the 18th of September on a Saturday, one-day event. We're just finalizing the date. One in October, one in November, and we're going to do each topic, because people said in the last event they really wanted to hear more about the wealth protection, or they really wanted to hear more about the income creation, or more about the mindset. So what we're going to do is do one event, one day on each. And this also means that we'll start a bit earlier, go from 8:30, finish about 6 if we have to, and just give a heap of stuff. So income, we'll be able to really go into cash flow, ways to create cash flow, ways to create income, ways to bring in money. We'll be able to do a separate event, like I said, on the common law rights, legal freedoms, and I'll be a bit more open. I can really go into it in depth rather than having to finish it off and covering stuff about like all the different topics that you've got. On that particular event, I'm even going to give people a chance once they enroll in the event to email their questions before the event. So make sure, so I can look at them and get an idea and make sure we cover pretty much everything that's being asked. And it'll be and then we'll be doing a wealth protection one, like I said in the Great Reset. It will be a live event. It'll be in person in Perth, but it will also be live streamed, okay? So like we did before, and in fact, we got a better event in Perth. The event we went to was a great location in terms of the beautiful river, but it was very annoying in terms of food. So we've actually got a much better event in the city for this time around. Venue, a really good one, but it's going to have really good food and really good venue. And so it's going to be live streamed across everywhere else as well. So, yeah, look forward to seeing you. So a few of you, who plans to come to that event, by the way? Mary, don't you have lockdowns over there? No, we haven't had any lockdowns here. We've had 3 quick, brief little ones. That's it this year. So, yeah, no, none. So, what topic are you going to cover in September? Well, what we've been doing is originally that was one I had great difficulty, but all my team and a few other people I ran by who are high-level clients all said to me, well, you know as well as we do, Warren, this is many of my high net worth people, that the number one thing to be wealthy and to be sovereign is you've got to know your common law rights, you've got to have your headspace right, and you've got to know all that. So at this stage, that's what we're looking at doing in the first one. to really set the stage for people, really goes through the basis of how to think, how to plan, or do all that kind of stuff. The next one after that will be either the income or the wealth protection one. We haven't decided yet, but so the private foundations will be covered in the October or November one, Gene, because that's going to be on wealth protection and things like that. So that's going to be yeah. So I will cover them, and yeah, like I said. So what we'll be probably doing is having a fee per event, or if you want to sign up for all of them, we're going to give a package deal for people who want to sign up to all of them. So there'll be a, you know, a one-off price just to come to one event, or for a package deal if you want to come to all of them. So, okay, everyone. So thank you very much. And I hope you have a really good night and go and really enjoy your rest of your evening. And yeah, I noticed someone as well talking about clearings and energy work. That's in our City Awakening group, that we do all that kind of stuff. So thank you, everyone. I'll see you soon.
To kick the habit that my mind is breathing in. Break out, I've got to see. Spent all my life holding all of it closely. I played it innocent, a feel of discontent. I'm finally facing it all, fearless.